To the Jewish Publication Society, 2100 Arch Avenue, Philadelphia. We act for Cain ben Adam, popularly known as Cain, in this action. Our client wishes to exercise, pursuant to the General Data Protection Regulation, his right to be forgotten. In particular, he asks that you cease distribution of the 4th chapter of your publication, Genesis. This chapter processes our client's personal data in a way that causes him disproportionate harm. There is no public interest in your continuing to degrade our client's reputation in such a manner. A very considerable length of time has passed since our client's crime, approximately 5,781 years. The journalistic interest in reports of the incident is therefore extremely small. Those who have committed crimes and have subsequently been punished have a right to be rehabilitated after a reasonable length of time and to clear their names, rather than forever be covered and connected by these historic events. It is also fair to say that he has been amply punished. Firstly, his sentence of a lifetime wandering the earth deprived our client, an arable farmer and tiller of the land, of his livelihood, a heavy price to pay. Secondly, he has suffered the additional stigma of being marked by a horn on his forehead. It is bad enough that he has received hostile attention whenever seen in public over the last 6 millennia. The additional humiliation caused by your publication causes him unwarranted and unjustified distress. We also observe that our client poses no further risk to the public, both on account of his age and on account of the laws of murder having been clarified. Nobody was more horrified than our client when his contact with the victim's head resulted in death. Since death was not a known phenomenon at the time, he could not reasonably have foreseen this. Your report's failure to include a statement to this effect renders it both unfair and inaccurate, and thus in breach of Article 5.1 of the GDPR. The most egregious inaccuracy in your report, however, is the unexplained omission of a quotation from our client. Genesis reads, Cain said to his brother Abel, but then fails to provide the actual words used, thus denying our client a right of reply. It may interest you to know that what Cain actually said was, I'm just going to take one of the sheep to use as my next offering to the Almighty One. Yours went down so well last time, I'd like to please God too. What do you mean they're all yours? What does yours even mean? They're sheep. You eat vegetables that you didn't grow, I can take a sheep. There's enough for all of us. Ouch, hey, get off me. Article 21.1 of the GDPR provides that once a data subject raises an objection, you must immediately stop processing their data unless there are compelling legitimate grounds to continue which override the interests, rights, and freedoms of the data subject. There are no such grounds in this case. Our client made a mistake as a very young man. He was duly punished for it, and he should now be freed from further stigma and intrusion. We await your response. Yours, Rashi, Malbim & Co. To Rashi, Malbim & Co. from the Jewish Publication Society. Dear Sirs, we are in receipt of your letter seeking to exercise your client's GDPR right to be forgotten in respect of Chapter 4 of Genesis. We have reviewed the publication in light of your client's objection, and our conclusion is that there are sufficient grounds to continue processing the personal data in question. Firstly, you fail to take into account the gravity of your client's actions. He not only committed a crime, he invented a crime. There is a considerable public interest in documenting the history of murder, and doing so has a worthwhile deterrent effect. Your client's initial attempt to cover up his crime by denying knowledge of his victim's whereabouts is an aggravating factor. Furthermore, we dispute your assertion that the horn on your client's forehead should be seen as part of a punishment. On the contrary, he actively requested this mark as a way of protecting himself from revenge attacks. You also refer to our redaction of the words your client spoke to his victim immediately prior to the murder. We are able to confirm to you that these words were redacted following a GDPR objection from the estate of Hevel ben Adam, the victim. His estate asserted that the publication of these words, seeking to blame him for the incident that led to his unlawful killing, were intrusive and distressing to surviving family members. As a responsible publisher, we seek not only to comply with our legal obligations, but also to refrain from causing needless distress to the bereaved. We hope that your client will understand our decision, even though he will undoubtedly find it disappointing. If he remains concerned that the presentation of his story in Genesis is one-sided, however, your client is of course free to publish whatever additional material he thinks fit. He will no doubt use all his creativity and initiative to find a suitable occasion to have his story released to the wider world, perhaps on Shabbat Bereishit. Yours, the Jewish Publication Society, Philadelphia, United States.